So today we're going to be talking about the wrists in chipping, and that's why you saw me actually doing what we refer to as a cack-handed drill. So my lead hand was below my trail hand. Now, someone who's made this perhaps a lot more popular, and you might well have tried, is Matt Fitzpatrick. So recently won US Open, fantastic game, great player, all-round golfer. Now he didn't change to this chip left below right method because he was a bad chipper. He changed to it because it was a practice drill to take the wrists out of it, actually try and feel like the lead wrist is almost facing the target a little longer. And it obviously worked well, and he's taking it to the golf course. What can you learn from it? Well, it is a great one. If you're someone who's breaking down the wrists through impact and you're struggling to control the low point, you're struggling to control the loft on the club, give it a go. It is a great feel to get the movement, or almost my watch face here, back of my lead wrist, staying pointing at the target for the majority of the journey. There is some rotation, but the rotation is coming from my torso. So if we're not using our wrists, what should we be using when we're chipping? Well, it needs to be a rotation of torso. So my torso is rotating on the way back to impact, rotating on the way through. And as I'm rotating through, there is some rising movement here as well, because it's not only my torso, but it's controlled with that. My hips are rotating, and therefore my leg would be straightening, extending into impact. What we're not doing is breaking down the wrists. And that's very different chipping to pitching. So pitching, while we're looking for more height, a little bit more distance, more elevation, there normally is going to be more wrist action. But on a bump and run, chip and run, which you really want to start to play from hard firm ground conditions, when we don't need the ball particularly high, when we only need the ball to fly maximum of 10 yards, I classify this really as that bump and run, chip and run. So that left below right is a great feel to take the wrists out of it. Okay, so I'm going to, in fact, I'll do one more. I'll go to more of a back pin. I'll just change the club. So I'm just going to change to more of a pitching wedge and try and do the same thing. So left below right. Now the only thing we've got to watch for, and this is true in putting as well, so if anyone goes that way, it'll tend to cause your shoulders to actually point for a right-handed golfer more to the right, so more closed. So you may just need to feel like you soften this elbow in, or perhaps that you turn a little bit more round to the left for right-hander. But great feel for high wrists and taking the wrists out of it in that action. So let's hit one to that top flag. Yeah, so landed. I'm a little bit off with direction, not going to lie, so I'd probably need to work on that at a touch. These came out a little bit more right than I think, and perhaps that is because of my closed shoulders, but actually the strike felt good. The lack of wrist breakdown felt good through the golf ball. Now, if you don't want to go to the extreme lengths of left below right, there are other things you can do. So an alignment stick, a tour stick up the side of the golf club, and what you want to almost try and do is maintain the gap there. So we're maintaining that gap from my lead side and the cane. We're not letting the wrist break down where the cane's going to be hitting you. So we're just getting that sensation of taking the wrist out of it, just using an alignment stick, alignment rod. You could even put a splint, so a ruler or something like that down the back of the watch strap, or into then the top of the glove, so the back of the glove there effectively. And the sensation you're perhaps going to have on the course is just going to be that your watch face or glove logo, if you wear one, is going to stay facing the target a little longer. So let's try and hit to that left pin. I'm going to go what feels the normal way round to me here, but I'm still trying to take the wrists out of it. Oh, I think I landed it a yard too short. On line, again, a good feeling of not breaking down the wrists. Now, the other things we can do at setup to help this, whether you go left below right, right below left, is get that club shaft more up. I meet too many golfers when they hit this bumper run, they're not getting the club high enough. Try and elevate the heel of the golf club so you can stand closer, you can stand taller. That's moving the handle up. That also sets the club higher up in my hand. So I'm actually running more through my lifeline here, through the fleshy part of my right thumb, or both thumbs actually. So we're just moving it higher up in our hands. We're standing closer to it. It's a great feel to take the wrists out of it if you're someone who's breaking down, struggling with trajectory control. Now, with this method, taking the wrists out of it, we're not going to see a particularly high flight, but remember, a bump and run, we're not really looking for that. If we need the height, we're pitching. And the other thing I would suggest is vary the club. Keep the method the same. Don't break down the wrists when you're hitting the chip, but change the club. If I want a little bit more height, stopping quicker, I'm going to use something with more loft. So let's see if I can get that to that back pin with my pitching wedge. I'm moving the club up, I'm standing closer, taking the wrists out of it, focusing on my landing area. I just can't quite land it far enough. I'm a little bit further away from the green perhaps than I normally would. I'm coming out of the excuses now. Let's hit a better one. There we go. Landed it that yard onto the green and just took a club that would run and release a little bit more. I've got a pitching wedge there if I want it to stop a bit quicker. It's that 58 degree perhaps. Vary the club. You are going to be de-lofting it when you're going with this method to taking the wrists out of it. You are going to see a lower flight. You are going to see a bit more roll. Just learn your distances. It's a great way to guarantee that ball turf strike. Give the left below right a feel like Matt's Fitzpatrick. The one thing you have to watch for is the shoulder alignment, but it's a good sensation to take the wrists out of. Now, if like Matt, you chip better that way, why wouldn't you take it to the golf course? But maybe it's just a training exercise for you to get the feeling of taking those wrists out of the movement. Give it a go. Let me know how you get on. If you did enjoy the content, hit the thumbs up, share it with as many golfers as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Right now, YouTube are suggesting the next video of mine that's relevant for you is just here. Click on it and check it out.